Do you dream of fairies and princesses? Then you've come to the right place. Welcome to Disney Coast to Coast.
Hey folks, and welcome to Disney Coast to Coast, the ultimate unofficial Disney fan podcast. I'm Jeff DePauli, and welcome to the House of Mouse headlines brought to you by LaughingPlace.com, your up-to-date resource for the latest Disney news every day of the week. This episode is being released on March 24th, 2021, and here's what's been going on in the world of Disney recently. A new Magic Band alternative coming to Walt Disney World, the reopening of the famed El Capitan Theater, some rare treats coming to Disney Plus next month, and more. It's all coming your way right after this. I'd like to take a moment to give a shout out to the newest member of the DCTC community, Jeff Prebeg. Jeff has decided to sign up over at patreon.com/DisneyCTC in order to support this show and gain bonuses. There are multiple levels of membership for folks to join, all with different rewards. You can take part in live stream Q&As with me, get early access to episodes, and more. So if you've never checked out patreon.com/DisneyCTC, do me a favor and take a look. If you feel like it's a good fit for you, I'd be honored to have you as part of the DCTC community along with Jeff Prebeg and the other fantastic folks. This show truly wouldn't be possible without the folks in the DCTC community, so thank you so much to them. Once again, the site is patreon.com/DisneyCTC, spelled patreon.com/DIZNEYCTC, or simply click the link in this episode's description. Thanks to Jeff, and thank you for considering.
Hear the latest news from the Walt Disney Company in today's House of Mouse headlines.
Despite previously announcing an April 2nd reopening date, Disneyland Paris has once again delayed plans to welcome back guests, citing prevailing conditions and travel restrictions across Europe. Previously, the resort had opened last summer before closing again in October. However, Disneyland Paris did state that they're optimistic about being able to reopen and will share updates soon. Last year, when Walt Disney World announced that it would be phasing out complimentary Magic Bands for hotel guests, it also revealed that new features and functionality would be coming to the My Disney Experience app. Now that promise is getting closer to reality with the announcement of Disney Magic Mobile. This new program will allow guests to use their iPhone, Apple Watch, or other smart devices as a Magic Band equivalent. Disney Magic Mobile is rolling out in phases, starting with iOS devices. Of course, if you're a Magic Band fan, don't worry, as those won't be going anywhere at this time. On the heels of Epcot debuting new lighting in its Esplanade, another Walt Disney World park is getting a bit brighter. This week, Walt Disney Imagineering site portfolio executive Zach Ridley took to Instagram to share a look at new lighting features being added to the Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway facade, aka the Chinese Theater. These include spotlights that will bring back the premiere night every night concept to Hollywood studios. You can check out the updated lighting design on your next visit to Walt Disney World. Earlier this year, Disney announced that its classic Jungle Cruise attractions at both Disneyland Park and Magic Kingdom would receive story and diversity updates later this year. Now, Imagineering has shared more details about the ride's new storyline, which will feature Alberta Falls, granddaughter of world-renowned Dr. Albert Falls and proprietor of the Jungle Navigation Company Ltd. A post from the Disney Parks blog also notes that the interconnected scenes guests will experience on the ride will heighten our skipper's legendary comedic tone. No opening date for the reimagined Jungle Cruise attractions has been announced, but they are expected to debut later this year. Principal photography on the live-action adventure film Peter Pan and Wendy is now officially underway in Vancouver, British Columbia. Based on J.M. Barrie's novel Peter and Wendy, and inspired by the 1953 animated classic, the film stars Jude Law, Yara Shahidi, Ever Anderson, Alexander Maloney, Alan Tudyk, and more. Peter Pan and Wendy is currently set to premiere on Disney Plus in 2022. Following a surprise theatrical re-release in China, the James Cameron film Avatar has once again claimed the title of highest-grossing film of all time worldwide, displacing Avengers Endgame. Incidentally, Endgame now finds itself sandwiched between two Cameron-directed films, with Titanic, the greatest movie of all time, taking third place. If you're curious, the fourth and fifth places are currently occupied by Star Wars The Force Awakens and Avengers Infinity War respectively, meaning that the entire entire top 5 is owned by the Walt Disney Company. If you're looking to celebrate Avatar's latest accomplishment, you can relive the wonder of Pandora for yourself on Disney+. After more than a year of closure, the world-famous El Capitan Theater in Hollywood is back in action. The movie house reopened to guests on March 19th with screenings of Raya and the Last Dragon. Tickets are now on sale at elcapitantickets.com for dates through March 28th. All showings for this engagement are reserved seating only, and the theater has other health and safety protocols in place. Meanwhile, those who aren't near Hollywood can find Raya and the Last Dragon at their local cinema. Speaking of Raya and the Last Dragon, Walt Disney Animation's latest film will be released on digital April 2nd, as well as on Blu-ray, 4K Ultra HD, and DVD on May 18th. The release will contain the new animated short, Us Again, along with a whole host of bonus features and deleted scenes. As a reminder, Raya and the Last Dragon will also remain available to Disney Plus subscribers via Premier Access through May 4th, and is expected to be free to all subscribers of the platform on June 4th. Before we move on from Raya, I want to share a thought of mine about the movie, so be warned, spoilers ahead. If you don't want any spoilers, skip ahead a bit as this will be a short comment. I watched the movie and found it to be enjoyable, but there is one thing that happens that I simply can't get out of my head. Toward the beginning of the movie, we see Raya's dad turn to stone as the purple smoke known as the Droon captures him right before he tosses Raya over the bridge and into the water to protect her. At this moment in time, Raya's dad has a piece of the dragon gem in his hand, and he knows that this dragon gem repels the Droon. So why on earth did he not just use the dragon gem to save himself and his daughter, or at least himself after tossing her into the water? I'm seriously asking. If you have any thoughts, please leave a voicemail or shoot me an email and let me know. I even rewound the movie to make sure I wasn't seeing things wrong, and as far as I can tell, I wasn't. I couldn't get this detail out of my mind. As fans of the Mighty Ducks franchise likely already know, Emilio Estevez is set to reprise his role as Gordon Bombay when the Mighty Ducks Game Changers premieres on Disney Plus this month. However, it looks as though some of the Ducks players will also make an appearance on the series. Original stars including Marguerite Moreau as Connie, Vincent LaRusso as Adam, Matt Doherty as Averman, and others will apparently appear in episode Spirit of the Ducks. Will we possibly see other former Duck cameos as well? Find out when the Mighty Ducks Game Changers debuts on March 26th. In more Disney Plus news, The Office and the Mindy Project alum Mindy Kaling has joined the voice cast of the upcoming series Monsters at Work. Kaling will voice the role of Val Little, an enthusiastic member of the Monsters, Inc. facilities team. Additionally, Bonnie Hunt, whom I adore, will reprise her role as Ms. Flint, who was formerly in charge of training new scarers at Monsters, Inc., but will now manage the department responsible for recruiting and training the funniest monsters to become jokesters. You can hear Kaling and Hunt alongside Billy Crystal, John Goodman, Henry Winkler, and more when Monsters at Work begins streaming on Disney Plus July 2nd. While there's a ton of new content headed to Disney Plus, some interesting library titles are also making their way to the platform. For Star Wars fans, 2 seasons of the Star Wars Ewok series, as well as 2 Ewok films, Caravan of Courage and The Battle of Endor, will begin streaming on April 2nd, alongside some other Star Wars treasures. Then, on April 30th, the Disney Channel cult favorite Adventures in Wonderland will arrive. As for new shows, Big Shot premieres on April 16th. Get ready for a wedding that's shaping up to be the social event of the year. In Aradon. Disney Channel has just announced the Descendants: The Royal Wedding, an animated special that invites viewers to Mal and King Ben's wedding, will premiere later this year on Disney Channel. The special will feature Dove Cameron, Sophia Carson, Boo Boo Stewart, Mitchell Hope, and many other reprising their roles from the live-action franchise. Meanwhile, the absence of the character Carlos, played by the late Cameron Boyce, will be acknowledged in the storyline, and Boyce's memory will be honored in the telecast. Although no specific air date has been set, you can expect to see Descendants: The Royal Wedding on Disney Channel this summer. Disney and the National Football League have reached a new agreement that will see the Super Bowl returning to ABC for the first time since 2006. ABC and ESPN will broadcast Super Bowl 61 in 2026 and Super Bowl 65 in 2030. The new deal will also give ESPN Plus one exclusive national game annually starting with the 2022 season. Surely this won't be of much interest to some Disney fans, but these developments are big news for ABC, ESPN, ESPN Plus, and the Walt Disney Company nonetheless. And now it's time to welcome back Kyle Burbank from laughingplace.com. Hello, Kyle.
Hey, Jeff. It's been 2 weeks already.
So Remy's Ratatouille adventure is opening in Epcot on October 1st, 2021. Of course, this is going to be part of Walt Disney World's 50th anniversary is that exact day, and it's Epcot's 39th anniversary on that day as well. But I must admit, this is a lot later than I expected.
Yeah, I think if I'm a betting man, I would say it's probably going to have like a long soft opening period.
Yeah.
In my mind, I know there's a lot of speculation about why they're doing this. My best guess would just be that they don't want to, keep people waiting month to month. They just want to be like, okay, on October 1st, that's the date that we've set out that everything's going to be back to almost normal. Like they'll probably still have the mask mandate, but that seems far enough in the future. But if things start getting better before then, I don't see why they wouldn't open it. They just wanted to make sure that there are not people hanging around that area during these spring break weeks. And you don't want people trying to plan trips for the summer thinking it's going to be open. They just don't want to make that guarantee.
But why not? Like, from what I hear, it's done. So it's not like...
But it's not about the ride not being ready. It's about, do you want to draw more crowds to something that's already filling up? And... if they don't have that extra capacity available yet in terms of going from 35 to higher or whatever, it's just, I think it's hedging as far as the pandemic and trying to be responsible in that aspect.
Well, it's interesting that you bring up like the different theories and stuff. I don't know if you saw what Len Testa from touringplans.com tweeted. Did you see this?
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm talking about. I don't really buy into that, but go ahead and do it.
It's interesting. No, I just found it to be interesting because I hadn't thought of this, but his point was essentially October 1st is the beginning of a new fiscal year for the Walt Disney Company, and he was saying that by starting it or opening it on October 1st, this is obviously people will plan vacations around something new, and therefore it makes that fiscal year's numbers look better. And, this year that's already kind of a bust due to the pandemic, it just makes them look better next year, which I was like, hadn't thought of that. I wouldn't put it past them personally, but it sounds like you don't think that's the reason.
They don't have a demand problem. So I don't see that being, I don't think that makes sense.
They don't have a demand problem, but you got to admit, once it opens, it's going to be like the next ride to open, and then there's going to be quite a gap, I feel like. So this is going to definitely draw bigger crowds. And also, the other thing about opening at October 1st is, let's face it, when everybody thinks, I want to be at Walt Disney World for the 50th anniversary, most people are going to say, I want to be in Magic Kingdom. Even though, let's face it, it seems like there's way more celebrating happening at Epcot. So this may get some people over to Epcot and spread out those 50th crowds as well.
Maybe. I think people might be overestimating this ride. I've been on it. It's not that exciting.
I was going to ask you if you did it in Paris, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've done it a few times. I mean, it's fun. It's cool it's nice to see like a legit trackless ride system come here. Like I know Luigi's over in DCA is trackless, but it's not, you don't really get the same thing as like a Mystic Manor or...
Which ride in DCA?
The Luigi's Rollickin' Roadsters.
I mean, but we got Rise of the Resistance now.
Yeah, that's true. I haven't been on that, so I forgot about it.
Oh my gosh, you still haven't done it? Oh,
no, so I mean, sad. When would I have had the chance to do it? Yeah, especially at Disneyland.
Crazy.
But no, I think that's probably the biggest appeal of it, and so especially because it's already been outdone by Rise. I don't know. It's not my favorite. It's got cute things, but I think the facade and the queue are probably more exciting than the ride itself, quite honestly.
Yeah, they are doing a bit of an update to the whole France Pavilion. As part of this, we're getting the La Crêperie de Paris, also opening October 1st. So it's a bit of an expansion. Now, this brings up, a conversation that, this whole huge IP attractions into World Showcase started kind of with Frozen Ever After over in Norway. Now we're getting Ratatouille in France. And I'm curious where you are as far as this is concerned. Are you cool with this now?
I think this one is better done than the Frozen one, just because it actually takes place in Paris. And
it's
also
a new attraction.
Yeah, it's a new attraction that was an expansion of the area and not overtaking something that people liked and had, some history about the actual country. So I think on the whole, I'm not opposed to characters in World Showcase, but I do think the Frozen was kind of a different story for a couple of reasons. But I think this makes perfect sense and I have no issue with it.
Yeah, the way that I feel about this now is, and I didn't feel this way, I was like, listen, keep the IP out of World Showcase. But my feeling now is you've done it, so commit to it. So at this point, I really want an IP attraction in every country in World Showcase. I'm waiting for Coco to come to Mexico. I'm waiting for Mulan to come to China and Mary Poppins to come to the UK. If you're going to do it, do it. I think it was probably, better the other way. But if you're going to do it, commit is the way I feel about it at this point.
Yeah, I guess my only wish is that when they did add IP, that there was a bit more of that edutainment factor. I held out hope for as long as I could that for some reason they would make the Frozen ride teach you about Norway. And obviously that didn't happen.
You silly boy.
I still wish it did. And I think there's still opportunities there to, have the Ratatouille attraction, but then maybe do something else in terms of culinary and French cuisine. Obviously, you have the restaurants there, but I think it'd be cool if there was some other way they could incorporate actually teaching you about that so that there's more to back up just the attraction.
Yeah, it would. If there were a happy medium, that would be great. But, that's not the direction that Epcot seems to be heading in. So...
now it doesn't, obviously they're not going to do it now, but I think maybe during Future Food and Wines, or maybe they could have, Remy seminars for kids to come and learn about cuisine and stuff. I think that'd be really cool.
Whatever happened to the little animatronic of Remy?
Yeah, that they used to do at Chef de France. I don't know when that stopped. I believe it has, though. We've all been kind of talking about that. I guess one of the issues with it was that it wouldn't go to every table while you were there, so it kind of led to some jealousy. That's all I've heard. I never got to do it, unfortunately, but that was a pretty cool feature.
They should just do with him what they're doing with Beast now at Be Our Guest. Have you seen what's going on during the pandemic? Beast comes essentially marching out, takes a bow. He basically never stops moving. It looks as if he really needs to get to a bathroom or something. He's just oh, let me get through this as fast as I can and get out of here. Because they just don't want any kids running up to him or anything. And listen, it's great that they still have him there during the pandemic and they're doing that. But it is kind of funny. It's just he breezes by to the point that, my whole family who was trying to get a picture of it, you can't get a good picture. He just zooms through. So I was just push him through the cart, through the entire restaurant, and just have Remy wave as he passes by.
There you go.
He's a cute animatronic. Before we move on from Epcot, I want to talk to you about something that, oh my God, the Twitterverse is going crazy over, and that's these Harmonious Barges. Have you seen these photos and videos?
A little bit, yeah. I know that it's blocking a lot of people's favorite views from around the lagoon.
It is funny, if you haven't seen this, they're enormous is what it comes down to. And I will say, not to join in on the haters here, because let's face it, we haven't seen it in its full glory yet. But I will say that one of the things I definitely miss about it is I love when a nighttime spectacular turns something that you've been looking at all day into something different and magical. The magic of Fantasmic you don't see most of the day. And it does bum me out that we're going to be seeing these barges all day, even though they say they're going to be turned into fountains. I don't know. As I look through some old Epcot photos, I'm oh, I will never get that photo again because there will be a giant black barge in the middle of it. And that's a little weird to think about.
Yeah, it could be worse. It could be a pin shop. But no, I agree. I think it is disappointing.
Listen, even I would side with the sorcerer's hat over those things.
Yeah, well, and the wand.
The wand. Yeah, I'd even take that. Why are they so big? Are those LED screens or something?
I thought it was something about next generation water screens, mist screens, but I guess they probably do have some sort of LED technology. People think it looks like a Stargate.
For the sake of the folks who created that, I just hope it doesn't go the way of what was the Animal Kingdom one called? Rivers of Light. I mean, There's a lot invested in that show as well. And less than a year, I think it survived. I don't know. It was crazy.
I think it was a little bit more than that. There was 2 iterations, though.
Yeah, really 3 if you count the Jungle Cruise one.
Remember the Jungle Book?
Jungle Book, rather. Yeah. Yeah. Ugh, crazy. But in any case, let's hop over to Disneyland because we have an official opening date at the Disneyland Resort. Disneyland and Disney California Adventure are opening on April 30th. And not only are they opening, we're getting some new stuff in there, which is very cool. Now, let's start by saying Avengers Campus is not opening with Disney California Adventure. This is not too surprising to me, but I am curious. Do you think this is because it's not ready or more because they just want to have like a big press day for it?
I think same answer. Again, they don't have a demand problem. There's no reason to rush it out and just...
But you think it's ready?
Yeah, I think it's probably pretty much ready. I mean, obviously, they have to train team members on it. No one's had a chance to actually run it, so they need to do that part of it. But I would suspect that it's more or less ready.
Yeah. Now, this date, I think it's a bit sooner than both of us discussed on an earlier episode. April 30th. It's sooner than I expected.
Yeah, I guess I didn't know how far in advance they had sold Touch of Disney. It is a little bit sooner than I thought, but he did say late April, and they bought every minute of that. So,
yeah, so as you mentioned, A Touch of Disney, the food event over in Disney California Adventure, goes through April 19th. I will say as much as I had to say about it before, I did do it. I was lucky enough to get a press pass to go. Not worth $75 in any way, shape, or form, but some really fun character interactions. That's the best part of it, for sure, are the character interactions, but not nearly as good a value as the other parks have done.
How'd you feel about the crowds? I heard that it was actually pretty busy.
No, see, here's the thing. If you showed up in the first hour, it was busy as far as getting into the park. Listen, everybody wants to be the first. That's just the reality of Disney fans. They always want to be the first at everything. So that first hour, yeah, it took a good 45 minutes to get into the park. But after that, I mean, let's face it, it's just food and photos for the most part. So most people are done within 2 or 3 hours. I did spend most of the day there, and by the second half of the day, it was empty walkways, very quiet. And there were certain locations where you had to wait for food, and, you did mobile order and stuff, but some locations really very little wait. So I would not say I was not uncomfortable with the size of the crowds at all. No.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll say part of me expected when they announced that Disneyland was opening on April 30th, I was waiting to see more information because, of course, Chapek announced it on CNBC, which seems like a weird choice until you look at the stock and you see the exact moment that he said that, and it just like shoots up like a hockey stick. But I thought that maybe they would continue doing the Touch of Disney at DCA and just open Disneyland as a theme park. Mm-hmm. So I waited a minute until they actually tweeted out, but no, they're opening both parks. So they're going to commit to the Touch of Disney's that they've already sold tickets for. That'll be its full run, and they're not going to open more dates after that, it sounds like. And then on the 30th, they'll open both theme parks as theme parks.
Yeah, I'm curious if they're like regretting the whole Touch of Disney thing, because honestly, like, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe if Touch of Disney didn't happen, they'd be like, well, let's do April 15th. But my guess is they're like, okay, we have to honor these tickets that have been sold. Also, like, let's face it, I'm sure a lot of people's decision to pay $75 for that event was, I just miss being in a Disney park, so I'm willing to pay it. And now that they've announced, well, guess what? You can come just a week or two later. I'm sure there's a lot of people who aren't very happy about that.
Yeah, but I think maybe they would have done it a little bit sooner, but I think there's still a lot of things to go through. Not just calling back the cast members, but retraining them on the attractions, because I don't know how often they have to redo that, but you have to imagine that after a year, not only are like your bottom of the totem pole cast members due for a retrain, but so are leaders and managers and everyone. And then they're going to be doing previews to where they're going to let other cast members, enjoy the parks, and then local things. I'm sure they'll do first responders and frontline workers and things like that they'll do previews for. Mm-hmm. So, those things will probably move up the date that it's actually operating by a couple of weeks.
I'm just going to say it. 24-hour day, April 30th. Let's do it. Let's just do it. Can you even imagine?
The very few, the 10,000 people that get tickets for that day will have the best day ever, but everyone else will just hate them.
Speaking of that, so we got to get to that number of people allowed into the park. It's still 15%. The thing that's so interesting is last time we talked about this, there was that mandate of indoor attractions there was some rule and stipulation based around indoor attractions, but
they basically hadn't figured out what they were going to do regarding them at that time.
Well, I guess they figured it out because a lot of attractions are reopening because we've got the new Snow White attraction, Snow White's Enchanted Wish, which is a redo of Snow White's Scary Adventures. This will be the first time that guests will be seeing this. I'm actually looking really forward to this. It looks like they've used some of the animatronic technology from Seven Dwarfs Mine Train will be going into this attraction. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think this should be cool. I didn't like the old one because
You didn't like it? Tell me it scared you.
It scared me.
Come on.
I don't like being startled. And that was startling.
After the first time, it was still startling to you?
I only probably wrote it a couple of times.
No. Kyle Burbank, you are ridiculous. You're
Scary
hilarious.
is in the name, Jeffrey.
For children. Oh my gosh. I can't believe it. That's unbelievable.
Just a 35-year-old child.
You're so funny. I love it. Oh, man. Well, I'm excited about it. I guess you are too, because hopefully it won't be as scary for you anymore. Are there any other dark rides that are, the kids' dark rides that you're scared of?
One that's getting new magic apparently is Haunted Mansion, and I will ride Haunted Mansion. I like Haunted Mansion, but I don't like the skeletons that pop up in the graveyard, so I usually close my eyes during that part.
You're amazing.
Except I actually prefer in Disneyland Paris the Phantom Manor because while it's darker and spookier, they don't have those pop-up skeletons, so I'm good with it all the way through.
You're a jump scare. You don't like the jump scares.
No.
Oh gosh, one of these days I want to go through a haunted house with you so badly.
Nope, not happening.
Not going to happen. Well, as you mentioned, Haunted Mansion, I actually forgot about this, but back when Disneyland was open over a year ago, the Haunted Mansion was down because after Haunted Mansion Holiday that year, they were just doing a lengthy refurb, I guess, freshening things up. But it sounds like it's more than that. So once the park opens on April 30th, that's once again going to be a first look at some of these added effects and lighting, it sounds like.
I haven't seen anything of what it actually is. It just says, and new magic is coming to Haunted Mansion.
So that means it's something noticeable,
I guess, yeah. My only guess was that several years ago now at Magic Kingdom's version, they made it so that the ghost host sounds like he's floating around the stretching room. And did they ever add that to Disneyland?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
In fact, I think I noticed it more in Disneyland than at Magic Kingdom.
Okay. It must have been a while because I know I feel like Holiday is always there whenever I go. So yeah, I don't know what they're doing. And obviously the Hatbox Ghost has been there for years now too, so it's not that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm excited to see that. And, I just love hearing, this is not a surprise to me. I figured this was going on, but I love hearing that like these parks were getting some TLC while they were closed. I mean, let's face it, aside from the fact that the company has less money to play with at the moment, it is the perfect time to do little fixes and such that you wouldn't normally have empty parks to do. In fact, they cleaned up a partner statue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do, regarding the thing about the indoor rides, I want to mention exactly what the email says, because it was a little confusing to me when I first received it. And it says, classic and favorite attractions will begin to open at both parks. And then it lists, some of the things. That's when it mentions the new magic at Haunted Mansion. So everyone, including, Laughing Place, we interpreted that as that this new Snow White's going to be open on day one, and so will this Haunted Mansion. And they mentioned Rise of the Resistance, and we think that those will all be open. I expected that after we published that they were going to start walking that back and contact us, but it never happened. I feel like someone's just like, we need to just, mention all the things that Disneyland has to offer, and didn't really make it clear that whether all these would be available on day one, given the restrictions. It's a little confusing to me, quite honestly.
I mean, if they're not open on day one, that's the way I read it, that these are the attractions that will open on April 30th. So if it's not factual, I think they're going to have a long line at guest services.
That's why I definitely feel like, I mean, I guess it's technically not too late. They haven't sold any tickets yet.
That's true.
But I'm definitely interested to see if they clarify that more as we get closer.
Yeah, now this, they will roll out information about ticket sales, and this is obviously going to be a reservation system. And, that's going to be difficult, I think, for a while. I'll be interested to see, like, how far in advance they sell tickets. Will it be 1 month? Will it be 3 months? It'll be interesting to see. But I think it's going to be... It shouldn't be as difficult as A Touch of Disney was, because they'll have, it's going to be way more than, 9 days or whatever A Touch of Disney was. It's going to be, every day. But it's going to be difficult, especially for that first day, because everybody's going to want to be there that first day.
Definitely. And I think for them, what they're going to want to figure out is, does it make sense to offer a longer time period and then maybe have the chance of being able to offer a second wave of tickets if capacity is able to increase? Or does it make sense to just play it conservatively and just do smaller chunks until you know what percentage you're able to sell?
I'm very curious to see if there will be park hoppers or not, because I feel like controlling, let's face it, DCA can fit more people, I assume, right?
It has to.
Yeah, so not everybody in DCA could get a park hopper to go to Disneyland. And if Disneyland's already full with single day tickets, there may not be room for park hoppers. So I wouldn't be surprised if when tickets go on sale, it's a one park for the day situation.
I would suspect so. I think they're probably going to need, look how long it took Walt Disney World to get back into the park hopping game. It was almost 6 months.
I was going to say 9 months or something.
Because I think they reopened in July, and I think it came back on the 1st of this year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep. You're right. So there's that. Obviously, park hopping at Walt Disney World is a lot different than Disneyland, considering they're just across the Esplanade from each other. But I think that might be something that we have to expect for a while. So, yeah. But otherwise, good news. Listen, we got opening dates for Ratatouille over in Epcot. We got opening dates for Disneyland and Disney California Adventure with some updated attractions. This is good news, heading all in the right direction. So I love it.
And Orange County, we should mention, has already moved into the red tier last week. So it's now at the point where Disneyland can reopen once. So as of April 1st, they could reopen. But that was part of the thing, is if Orange County stayed in the Orange County stayed in the purple tier, then they wouldn't have been able to open. But all's good on that front for now.
So on that note, get your vaccine when you can. I still want mine. But yeah, fantastic. Well, Kyle, thanks for coming on and chatting about some news. See you again in a couple weeks.
All right. Talk to you then.
To read more about any and all of the stories you've heard here today, simply visit the show notes at DisneyCoastToCoast.com or find the link to the show notes in this episode's description. You've heard the news, and now I want to hear what you have to say about it. Call 818-860-2569, leave a voicemail sharing your thoughts, and you may just hear yourself on a future episode of Disney Coast to Coast. Once again, that's 818-860-2569, or simply look in this episode's description for the phone number along with a link for some free gifts from me to you. If you haven't listened yet, on last week's episode, we had an interesting conversation about the Disney-owned properties that can be found in Universal Studios theme parks. And next, we continue an Easter tradition here on Disney Coast to Coast. The easiest way to make sure you don't miss any of the magic is by subscribing to Disney Coast to Coast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Wherever you search, don't forget it's Disney with a Z, Coast to Coast. As always, thank you to those of you who support the show on Patreon. You make all of this possible. If you enjoyed these honest conversations about Disney and have the means, please consider becoming a member of the DCTC community over at patreon.com/DisneyCTC for far less than the cost of a turkey leg. Plus, you'll gain rewards. You can find that link in this episode's description. Other than that, folks, have a magical day. Bye! Thanks for listening to Disney Coast to Coast. Have a magical day!
Disney Coast to Coast is produced and hosted by Jeff DePauli. Learn more about the podcast and become a supporter at DisneyCoastToCoast.com. This podcast is part of the DePodcast Network. Learn more about this show, plus find more quality and entertaining podcasts at depodcastnetwork.com. That's DEPodcastnetwork.com.